Hello, it is Nadia coming to you with video 50 of 90. I am into the 50s now. So exciting. I feel like I'm finally hitting my stride. Only 40 more videos left. Going to try to do them every day, but don't know if that's going to happen. But I think I'm being more consistent, and that is awesome. Today, I just finished watching the Red Table Talk, Jada Pinkett Smith's TV show, Facebook show with Snoop. And I think she's been advertising this for a couple weeks now. We saw a couple teasers the past week, and I'm not sure if today is the first day it aired or not, but it's the first day that I was able to sit down and watch it. Now, starting off, I am a fan of Snoop's music. So, of course, I'm familiar with him. He's been around for practically the past 3 decades at this point. He has a long history in the hip hop community and has touched a lot of people. So he's definitely a familiar name, and I think that's why he's gotten so much attention lately versus other people who may have said the same things that he did. And he was on the Red Table pretty much answering to the whole Gayle King fallout. We saw that happen. It looked horrible from the outside looking in. I wasn't really shocked by it. I think I was more shocked by the reaction that he got, because in my mind, I'm like, okay, Snoop was kind of being Snoop. So I don't know if it was like shock that people had or what the exact reaction was. But, as I said in previous videos, we saw Black men grieve on a mass level that we've never seen before, that they've really never been allowed to grieve before. And he even made mention of the fact that they feel behind closed doors, but this was just overwhelming and it spilled to the public eye. And so we got to see this massive collective grief, anger, tears, hurt, all of these feelings, because Kobe resonated with so many people on a deep level. And that's largely where his actions in that first video came from, that anger being very public. And I don't know if a lot of us knew a lot of things happening behind the scenes with him. I didn't realize that he just recently lost a grandson. He talked about that a little bit. And of course, Nipsey Hussle, who he was also close to, still digesting that. So there's a lot of anger there. Obviously, his video was very angry, but to me, he's been calling women bitches and hoes for like 20 years. So I'm like, I wasn't really shocked at the video. That didn't even really bother me. I think what bothered me the most in his first video to Gayle, it wasn't calling her the B word. It was the threat that came afterwards. And people dismissed it. And you have the right to do that. Everybody can watch and interpret however they want to. But when you say, you need to do this, that, and third, or me and my homeboys are going to pull up, that's a threat. And I was like, okay, now you've gone too far. So that was the part to me that was kind of too much venom. There were venom in his words, obviously. You could see that he was angry, but I was just like, okay, that's a bit much. And people dismissed it. He's never even addressed that part of it. Everyone else seems to be hanging on him calling someone the B word. He hasn't had a lot of respect for women over the years. He just hasn't. His music has shown that over and over again. He's very selective in who he respects. He and his wife have even separated a couple of times over the years. They've been together, I think, for about 25 years now. They've hung on. Thought they were really going to get divorced about 4 or 5 years ago. That really seemed to be it. But they've weathered through their storms. But he's very selective in who he respects. And on the public eye, it doesn't seem to be many women. So I was just like, well, Snoop is going to be Snoop, just as all of us are going to be who we are. He's had a few gospel albums, I think maybe 5 or 6 years ago, and they did get some critical acclaim. They did do well, but I think now he's kind of back to doing hip hop because it's what he's known for. It's what's comfortable. So he was sitting down at the table, and I'm kind of listening with kind of an attitude of, I hear what you're saying, but are you the right person to really have this conversation? Yes, you need to answer to whatever happened with Gayle if you want to, but for you to, it was a very respectful Snoop that showed up. It was a very quiet, calm, collected Snoop that showed up, obviously, because he knows he's coming with this mass apology or this mass explanation. But I was just like, as a whole, is he the right person to try to lead us in some respect women conversation? And that's kind of where it fell flat for me. I was just like, okay, these are just words to fix your reputation because you did take an unexpected hit. And I think most people that reached out to him told him it wasn't what you said, it was definitely how you said it. And I would agree with that because I had my own issues with the Gayle interview. I was really disappointed myself. Yes, other journalists were asking the questions, but leave that to them. There's a whole lot of people that try to bring Black people down. We don't need to do it ourselves, especially in that moment where he was still on the mountainside. Like, it was just too soon. It was too much. So I get it. I get the anger. And I'm not as much of a Kobe fan as Snoop is. I didn't know him personally like Snoop does. So, I got it. I got the anger. And I got, his venom. But, I'm not looking to Snoop for any kumbaya blueprint. It's just that has not been his life. So, he went on the Red Table Talk. It was a good talk. All three generations were there because, Willow is very selective in the shows that she pops up on. So all three were there today. And it was a good conversation. And even though he and Jada had never met before, which was kind of shocking, they definitely had common threads. And Jada was a close friend to Tupac. Snoop obviously worked with Tupac. So they had a lot of commonalities. And they were able to talk about some things from the past where Snoop did things that affected Jada, but they never had the chance to come together and really talk about those things. And she was able to tell him the good and the bad of their distant relationship. So that was pretty cool. Now, I will say there were some positive takeaways from the conversation. I really liked how Snoop talked about there being a brotherhood of Black men behind the scenes that we don't actually get to see. You never really know who has alliances or who are friendships. So it was really cool to hear him talk about how some people were able to call him, approach him in a calm, professional, brotherly manner, and he listened. I think he mentioned like Tyler Perry, Van Jones. He mentioned 5 or 6 people that actually reached out to him and like, hey, are you all right? Because you have to tread on thin ice with Snoop. So it's like, are you all right? Okay, I'm just letting you know, I got your back, but maybe this could have been said a different way. And after hearing that message repeatedly from people, he started to rethink his actions. And then he talked, of course, about his mother pulling him aside and saying, hey, this went too far. Now, his mom is deep in the church. I think the note said she was a choir director for like 45 years. She raised him in the church. And you could tell by his apology, his video apology, that he made to Gayle, that his mom had a lot of influence in that moment. It was clear. He went down, my mama raised me better, whatever. And so it was clear that his mom had to talk to him, but I was just like, well, why this moment and not all the other moments? Why this moment and not all the other albums? Everything that he's put out, he's had so little respect for women. Why now? And I guess it's just because it did become so public that even his mom and his aunts had to step in and say, hey, you went too far, you need to fix this. And he did. Now, if I was Gayle, I don't really know if I would take him up on any offers to meet. Really, he injected himself in a conversation where he didn't necessarily have to, and it went really far. And I think she's kind of just let it, wash off her back, and it's like whatever. But he said he did reach out to her. He did send her a DM. I think he said he texted some of her friends, and she has not reached out privately. I probably wouldn't either. Like, what would be the point? Like, I didn't ask for you to comment on me the first time. I'm not asking for a sit down now. That's probably what Gayle is thinking. Maybe one day they'll come together. Jada also reached out to her and invited her to that Red Table Talk, and she wasn't there. So Jada extended a blanket invitation to Gayle to come to the show, whether she will or not. Again, I probably wouldn't, not to talk about that. I mean, Gayle has done so much up to this point and has her career on CBS, MSN, I don't really know what she does. She's a journalist somewhere. She has her own career outside of this one moment, so I don't even know if it's worth her responding to it. I think she might have put out some kind of statement about the apology, but having phone conversations, having sit-down talks, doing interviews about that one moment, I probably wouldn't do it, so I get it. But I did like how Snoop talked about the brotherhood, because black men definitely need a support system, and a lot of men don't have it. So it was good for him to talk about that. And then when he talked about losing his grandson, and he was saying how his son was actually instrumental in healing the family, and he made this mention like, well, we healed ourselves. And I'm glad that Jada's mom said, well, who do you go to for counsel though? Because there's a lot of deep issues that happen that you can't just bounce back and heal yourself. So she said, well, who do you go to for counsel? And he said, for a long time, I talked to Charlie Wilson. And then he talked about other mentors that he had. And I think that's important to know, that you don't have to try to do everything yourself or get through everything yourself. So knowing that there's a support system in place is important, because I think people need to hear it's okay to lean on someone else sometimes. You don't have to go through all of these traumatic incidences on your own. A lot of us don't have the tools to go through something that traumatic on our own. So it's important to say, I either go to a therapist, or I have my band of brothers, or what have you. And he also did take a moment to talk about the positives that have come out of all of the hip hop culture. Like, we can easily talk about the misogyny and the disrespect and all of that, but him being in LA, he sees a different side of it. So he talked about how Bloods and Crips come together now more often than they used to. A lot make music together, and there's been this unity among the gang culture that certainly wasn't happening in the 80s and 90s, when you had so much death and destruction. So I think that's something that people don't often realize, how a lot of Bloods and Crips now work together on a unified front. So there were some positive takeaways. I tried to be very open-minded when I was listening to the interview, and I thought it was a good interview, but I think there's a lot of respect there already, because especially with Jada's link to Tupac, I think that's just one of the people he would have respected. I think that the average person talking to him or interviewing him, it probably wouldn't have gone that smoothly or politely or respectfully. And that's just Snoop being very selective with his respect. So you could take it for what it's worth. It was a good interview to watch. I think it's about 20 or 30 minutes. I don't know how you, the masses, feel about Snoop. He's got great songs. I will always love his music, but I'm not looking for him for a blueprint on how to treat each other. Because he's just not that guy. So if you guys have seen it, I see quite a few people watching. Hey, Josh, how are you? Josh down there in Houston or LA or wherever work is taking you. Michelle, let me know where you're going to live this summer. I see you looking for places on the beach. I like the beach. Invite me. Stephanie, how are you? Rob Woods, how are you? Alicia up there in Rochester, probably buried in snow. How are you guys? If anybody has any thoughts, I'll stay on for a second. You can let me know. Have you seen it? What did you think about it? Or what did you think about the comment or the apology afterwards, or Gail's reaction? Because I know I could be a very difficult person. So maybe how I would react is different than how you would react. Because I just, I would probably take the Gail route. I would ignore him. I would ignore him and go on with my life. And as you see, she has gone on. She was moderating the debate, and she's still on her daily Today show or whatever it is she does. She just kept right on going with life. So I mean, that would pretty much be my take on it. Okay, so I don't see. Hey, Dennis from Orlando just tuned in. So if anybody has any comments, y'all are watching, but y'all are not commenting. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know what you think. Maybe you think Snoop was right to say what he said and never needed to apologize in the first place. I don't know. Everybody takes it differently. Who knows? Okay, so, all right, so I don't see any comments, so I'm going to go on with my day, but give it a listen. Let me know your thoughts afterwards if you do happen to watch it. It's a Facebook page, Red Table Talk. It's hosted by Jada Pinkett, and I think it's a show that's only on Facebook, and I don't think she comes out with shows too regularly, maybe once every couple weeks. So this is her show for this week. I think it just aired in its entirety because we've gotten the teasers for the past week or so. So this was my first time seeing the first, hey Dennis, how are you? This is my first time seeing this episodes. I think it just came out this week. So catch it. Have an open mind. Listen to the positives that he does talk about, because there are some positive takeaways. And I would love to know how Black men receive this, because I think that was important for Black men especially. All right, so I'm going to go, and you guys have a wonderful day. If you are in a Super Tuesday state and you have not already voted, please get out and vote. Those in Tennessee, those in Nashville especially, my prayers to those who are affected by the tornadoes. I know they opened the polling places about an hour later, trying to get some things together, and they've added a couple polling places. So you want to check your local websites, your county websites, to see where your polling places are, especially if you're in Nashville, because some things have changed. But please, please, please get out and vote. It is so important. All right. Happy Tuesday.